All right, let's just forget about the sanitized, cheerful myths you might have seen in movies or read in children's books. Today, we're stripping away that Disney-fied veneer for this explainer. We're diving straight into the raw, brutal reality of Heracles' quest for redemption.
So what is the true price of redemption? I want you to really stop and consider the extreme physical and emotional weight of actual atonement. Because for the absolute greatest hero of Greek myth, paying that price wasn't just, a matter of saying a quick apology. No way. It was an agonizing, decade-long ordeal of survival that tested the very limits of both the human and divine spirit. Now, to really understand his suffering, we gotta look at the tragic catalyst. Heracles murdered his own wife and children. It's incredibly dark, but he didn't do it of his own free will. He was actually driven into a blind, murderous rage by a super-powerful illusion cast by Hera, the queen of the gods. And when her magic finally lifted and that illusion shattered, well, the crushing, absolutely unbearable guilt of what he'd done set him on this desperate path to somehow make amends.
Part 1. A tragedy born of madness. This unspeakable trauma sets the stage for a seriously unfair power dynamic. At the center of this whole story is a staggering conflict. On one side, we've got Heracles, a guy with immense supernatural physical power, absolutely desperate for atonement, who is about to face nightmarish monsters with little more than his bare hands. And on the other side, we have his cousin, King Eurystheus. He's weak, he's cowardly, and he's constantly changing the rules of the labors just to cheat Heracles. I mean, the source stories tell us he literally hides in a giant storage jar in terror whenever Heracles brings a monster back to the palace. It is the ultimate juxtaposition, right? A grieving powerhouse serving a petty, terrified tyrant.
Part 2. Beasts and Bare Hands.
This marks the beginning of his physical suffering, with tasks requiring sheer, unbelievable brute force. Take his very first labor. He is sent to kill the Nemean lion. Now, this wasn't just a big cat. This was a beast with a golden hide that was completely impervious to weapons. Swords and spears literally shattered against it. So what does Heracles do? He's forced to confront this monster entirely with his bare hands. Just imagine the absolute exhaustion and strain here. He wrestles this invulnerable, razor-clawed beast for grueling hours until he finally manages to catch its neck and literally strangle it to death.
But the toll wasn't always just about wrestling monsters. Fast forward to his third labor, involving the Xerenian hind. This wasn't a ferocious beast at all. Actually, it was a golden antlered creature described as nearly impossible to catch, just because of its incredible speed. The difficulty here wasn't strength, it was pure, agonizing endurance. Heracles was forced to sprint and track this single fleeting target for a full, uninterrupted year. Yeah, a whole year. It was psychologically and physically draining in a completely different yet equally punishing kind of way.
Part 3. The Rigged Game.
Now, King Eurystheus wasn't just a coward. He actively moved the goalpost to prolong Heracles' suffering. This brings us back to the second labor, the terrifying Lernaean Hydra. And guys, this battle was pure, treacherous chaos. The monster had 9 heads, and every time Heracles sliced one off, 2 more grew back right in its place. To make matters even worse, Hera actively interferes, sending this giant crab to pin Heracles to the ground while he's fighting. It was so bad that Heracles actually believed his death was close here. He only survived because his nephew Iolaus stepped in and instantly cauterized the severed necks with a flaming torch to stop them from regenerating.
And notice the bureaucratic cruelty of it all. Because Heracles had help from his nephew with the Hydra, and because, as we'll see in just a second, he got paid a portion of cattle for cleaning a set of stables, the cowardly King Eurystheus totally refused to count them. The original deal was 10 labors in 10 years, but thanks to this cruel ruling, Eurystheus punishes the hero further by extending the final toll to 12 labors total.
Part 4. The Impossible Stables.
Now, King Eurystheus specifically chose this 5th labor because he fully believed it simply couldn't be done. Just consider the sheer scale for a moment. 3,000. King Augeas's stables housed 3,000 immortal cattle. And to build on the absolute disgust of this challenge, 30. These massive stables had not been cleaned in 30 years. Can you even imagine? The filth was literally piled meters high, creating a stench so absolutely awful that no one even dared approach the area.
And here is the kicker, the impossible timeline given to our hero. 1. He had exactly 1 day to clean it all. Let that sink in. 1 single day to clean 30 years of filth from 3,000 immortal cattle.
But Heracles' ingenuity was as massive as his strength. He literally reshaped the landscape to get it done. Obeying the strict rule to use no tools, he used his bare hands to dig massive canals, he diverted 2 entire rivers, the Alpheus and the Peneus, and sent a great torrent of water crashing through the stables, washing away decades of filth in an instant. It's just a brilliant illustration of raw, bare-handed effort achieving the impossible.
Part 5. Bearing the Cosmos.
We've arrived at the climax of his trials, a moment where the physical toll reaches cosmic, reality-breaking proportions. During this labor, the texts note that Heracles actually contemplated whether this would be the task that would finally break him. Really feel the gravity of that statement. This is the greatest hero of myth, a man who strangled a practically invincible lion and diverted rivers with his hands, coming to the very edge of absolute, shattering failure. This all happened during his 11th labor, fetching the golden apples of the Hesperides. To get these apples, Heracles agreed to take the place of the Titan Atlas and hold up the sky itself. I mean, the physical agony was beyond human comprehension. He struggled immensely to bear this cosmic weight. His muscles cramped severely, his body shook uncontrollably. He literally sweat under the agonizing pressure of holding the heavens apart from the earth. Definitely his most physically taxing labor.
Part 6. Conquering the Underworld.
We finally reach his 12th and final labor, his ultimate descent into darkness, to secure his freedom. He had to go down into the underworld and capture Cerberus, the terrifying 3-headed guard dog of Hades. And the catch here? He was expressly forbidden from using any weapons. Are you noticing the recurring theme? Once again, it all comes down to a bare-handed struggle. He had to physically wrestle a monster of the underworld for hours, absorbing its fury until the beast was utterly exhausted. Only then could he drag it to the surface and complete his atonement.
Which leaves us with this final thought to reflect on. We don't have to fight 9-headed hydras or hold up the sky, but we all make mistakes and we all carry guilt. So what are your own labors, and what burdens do you carry to make amends? Think about the heavy, personal price of redemption in your own life and what you are willing to endure to wipe the slate clean. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you a whole new perspective on the true endurance of Heracles.